Good morning, everybody. Hey, Keith Pitch here. Welcome to Real Estate Now. It is that time again, Thursday morning, 10 o'clock. We're coming to you live here on Facebook, YouTube, the World Wide Web. So we are an international show in scope by default. So we are sans Stacy this morning. She's having a little bit of technical difficulties getting online and signed in here to our studio. So it's just going to be me today, and we're going to talk about an amazing opportunity in the builder market, what it looks like to go buy new construction as opposed to a resale in today's market. So before we jump into our show, just wanted to do our weekly routine of talking about the good old mortgage rates and looking at Freddie Mac's mortgage rate survey here for the week concluding the 10th, which is today. So it's kind of nice that this all meshes up together, that we get to have the survey published on the day that we air it. So mortgage rates relatively flat. They tick down just a 0.03% week over week. And I wanted to speak a little bit to this really quick. It says the economy is recovering, but the housing market is experiencing a, quote, slowdown in the purchase application rate. And I just want to say to all of you out there that this headline, this bit could be twisted as it's a negative thing. This is a very good thing for the purchase market. The purchase market could definitely use a little bit of a recess, so to speak, and take a little bit of a summer break and slow things down a bit and allow those buyers out there to hopefully catch up with some inventory. But by no means or no way, shapes, or forms is this going to right now slow down the purchase market, because it is red hot and rocking. So there you go. Rates still under 3%, still a great time. And if you're ready to make the move, get after it. So to join us today, switching to today's show, we're going to talk about new construction. So all those builders are just going full tilt right now, trying to get that inventory to market. And joining us today is our good friend Rick Fletcher with Loan Depot here. Rick, you are the divisional builder sales manager, and welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about what you do for us here at Loan Depot.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Good morning. I'm tasked with managing the builder activities as it relates to retail production, builder partnerships, MSAs, preferred builders for California and Oregon, Seattle, the Boise market. So the California Pacific Northwest market as it relates to servicing, supporting, and business development for all the new home builders in our division.
Gotcha. So those builders here in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, they're pretty busy right now. Is that an understatement?
No, they're not too busy. They're maybe working, 150 hours a week. But, having been a builder myself, builders like to be busy.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting in that there's never been as high amount of pent-up demand for new home construction. And new homes make up about 25% of all homes sold in today's market, which is the highest market share in history. And we all know the reason. Yeah, the reason why is because there's little to no demand. I mean, America is literally out of houses because of what's happened over the course of the pandemic, what's happened to supply chain, what's happened to costs and labor. So all that being said, it is a good time to be a builder, but builders are putting into place a lot of controls and a lot of tactical and strategical protocol as it relates to being able to sustain production, to minimize costs, to control pricing, and not to really put, a big footprint on this great affordability environment that we've been in now for the last 2-3 years for new home buyers.
Yeah, it's been escalating immensely. So really quick, just to give that a position, what is typically the new construction market share? You said it's 25% right now, but like historically, new
Oh,
construction is what percentage?
it would be under 10%. Yeah,
Wow.
it would be under 10%. And historically, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
People, when they're looking to buy a new home, the number one component is location. So if they come
Okay.
from a neighborhood, it's an established neighborhood, maybe there's family and friends already there. Chances are that the developable lot supply within those infill or urban, suburban infill established neighborhoods
Right.
isn't that great. So the builders, traditionally have enforced, they call it urban sprawl, right? So,
Right. Right.
they go to where the land is, they create the infrastructure, they develop, new architecture and good plans and amenities. And that creates more of an option for buyers to go out and look into the outside areas. That being said, there are a lot of buyers and customers and potential buyers that will only purchase in a specific location, and they'll wait until there's inventory
Right.
in that market. So the new
They're
home
waiting a
component,
long time right now.
yeah, it's a long wait right now. So the new home
Okay.
component has typically been less than 10%. The reason it's increased right now is because of some of the implications of the pandemic, and there's really no inventory. Sellers are hesitant to list their homes. There's a tremendous amount of price appreciation and pent up demand, almost a kind of a frantic demand right now, a fear of missing out amongst the general buying public. And so they're more and more often are looking to builders to provide that housing solution, in addition to some of the priorities that were developed over the pandemic. They want to work from home. They want
Right.
clean air. They want green energy. They want more compartmentalized spaces. They want more privatized yards and
Mhm.
entryways, and things like that. So new homes fit the bill for that. It's a great thing for the building industry. The building industry, with every home, creates a tremendous number of jobs in peripheral industries, and
Yeah.
so it's great for the economy. And we've been
It,
lucky.
it, is this a long-term renaissance for the builder because of now it seems like every day we have another company saying, hey, we're not making our client, or we're not making our workforce come back because they've been so effective over the last year. So you were saying like we would wait until that school district or that location to my office opened up. Like now that people can almost work from anywhere, right? Is this like going to be a long-term renaissance because builders now can go to the land as opposed to trying to infill?
Well, I think that that's a great question. I think that there are two parts of that. The first is the major employers and organizations,
Mm-hmm.
that supply the job market, in our country. What is their mandate? If you're a financial institution, if you work for a large organization with multiple divisions, chances are their protocols are in place, and there is going to be a higher percentage of workers that are being compelled to go back into the office. If, on the
Right.
other hand, you work for a more entrepreneurial company, you're a little more nimble, you work off your laptop, or you visit potential customers, then some companies are 100% work from home. Others are slowly getting back into maybe a 50% category. But the answer to your question is yes, I think it has changed the paradigm. It's changed some of the priorities in architecture, space planning, community site planning, and the
Right.
features of homes for years to come. This it's not often that we go through what we went through in the last 14 months and what we're still going through. So builders have learned exactly what's important to buyers today.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty awesome. So tell me some benefits. People now, if they're looking at the resale market and they're not finding what they're looking for there, what's the advantages of going to new construction?
Well, I touched on a few of those things. Some of the
Hmm.
advantages are it's brand new. Nobody's ever sat on
Yeah.
that carpet. Nobody's ever, used the bathroom or kitchen appliances or fixtures. It is a brand spanking new home with materials that came directly from the slab yard or from the factory or from, the manufacturer of the appliances. So there's that brand new, never been touched, I think, aspect. Also, the features, again, the green features, HEPA air filters, solar is compulsory in states like California, as an example. So builders have the ability, unlike the resale market sellers, to adjust their architecture to what the needs are. It's a fluid process, and it's always evolving to meet the needs. The resale inventory doesn't have that ability to do that without a remodel. And by the way, the remodeling market has gone through the roof. It's a $27 billion industry, but a lot of potential buyers don't want to go through that remodel process. I'm going through one myself. I wish I'd never started, right? Yeah, I would have rather just bought brand new. But so those are some of the advantages. You can pick the architecture, you can pick your finishes, you can kind of customize it and make it your home.
Gotcha. So in the new construction world, I've seen it a little bit around the Seattle area. There's this understanding that new construction is not as competitive as the resale market. I don't know about all of our territory as far as the builder world that you live in, but when I look at new construction in the Seattle area, there's not a lot of new construction out there available because they just can't build it fast enough.
Right. Well, and there's a couple of reasons for that. There are a lot of development, let's say government services restrictions and constraints, pulling permits and, housing densities and things of that nature, I think are certainly in place. Although development fees are still relatively affordable, I think in the Pacific Northwest in general. In California, they're out of control. But I think that, the new home, housing is housing, right? Newly constructed homes are going to be just as under pressure to meet demand as the resale housing sector. I think that the difference is that costs are relatively static as it relates to the resale sector. So if prices are going up, it's driven purely by demand, right? I have 9 offers on my house. My realtor wanted me to list it below market, so there'd be a bidding war. And I know a statistic is there's about 6 offers on every house that's listed, in your area, up in the Puget Sound area. And it's kind of crazy, right?
Every house.
That's right. Whereas the new home construction pricing is driven not just by demand, it's driven by the supply chain, it's driven by manufacturing, it's driven by the labor that's available, it's driven by the demand for new products. Hi, Stacy. So people want the new appliances, they want the new HVAC systems, they want the new security, they want to be green, they want to be sustainable, they want new architecture. So all of those things go into the fact that a builder, and I'll just give you an example, some examples from your neck of the woods as it relates to lumber. So a nonprofit builder called Bellwether Housing is building a 186 unit apartment development in Rainier Valley, right? They saw their lumber prices go up $850,000. So what do you think that implication is to what that rent is eventually going to be when they come to market? In Kirkland, Terrene Homes saw lumber prices increase $50,000 per home, and that's on average a $2 million priced home, brand new home. But $50,000 just in lumber, and I'll go into what that really means, a little bit later. And then in Bothell, there's a development of 11 townhomes where their lumber price doubled over budget, and that came out to about $30,000 per townhome. So what ends up happening, just to give a little quick analogy, it's basic math because that's all I'm really good at, is let's say that you let's say you're a builder and you start with a pro forma with a $500,000 home, and it's 2,000 square feet. Okay. And your typical building costs are going to be, let's just use $130 a square foot. So those are what's called your hard construction costs. Now, if you have $260,000, right, in hard costs, and if all those building materials, including lumber, go up by 50%, then you've just had a $130,000 pricing implication. So your $500,000 house, to keep a static profit margin for the builder, is now having to be sold for $630,000. So, and that's just a real kind of simplistic view in your area, in Puget Sound, in Seattle and surrounding areas. Your build costs, because of the type of construction, the density, the fact that you have a lot of vertical construction, your building costs can be on new construction $250 to $350 a square foot or more. So, so that just exponentially increases, the price of that house. So,
hey Rick, I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize for my tardiness.
Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Hey, Stacey.
I wanted to talk about lumber so bad, and then I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. Anyways, okay, I'm hearing rumors that maybe it's the larger builders. I don't even know who it is, what size builder, but they are just going to stop building. Like they're shutting down plats, and maybe you guys already talked about that. Even locally here, they're just closing plats, and they're going to reopen later when lumber falls in line. So I didn't know if you've heard that around other markets or not.
That's a good point. I haven't heard about a complete, work stoppage. But here's what I have heard: is that you would think that with all the demand, builders would want to get their pricing to market. They'd want to sell. But there's a few things, fundamental things that are changing that. One is there's a very constrained supply of lots. So the amount of lots that are available has dropped by 20%. The price of those lots have gone up exponentially in the last, let's say, 18 months. So they can't replace what they're selling right now at the same rate. That's the first thing. And builders, especially publics, mid-sized regionals, it's all about sustaining, right? It's about even flow as it relates to their business plan. The second thing is, because of costs, they don't really know until they get to a certain stage on any given house or phase what my costs really are, because they'll sign contracts per phase. But if I sign a contract for, I don't know, let's say, $8 a square foot for cabinets in phase 1, by the time I get to phase 3 or 4, that could be $20 a square foot. So what a lot of builders are doing as it relates to what you just said is they are managing, they're pulling back their sales releases. And Elliott Homes, as an example, in Sacramento, one of our customers, our preferred partners, is doing exactly that. They're getting the home built to where it's about 60 days out from completion, and the buyer can select their flooring before they ever release it for sale. So they're really limiting what they put on the market, which doesn't help the buyer, right? So now the buyer right now might be able to reserve a lot that won't be done for a year. But if the builder doesn't put it on the market until it's 60 days out, then you've just exacerbated an already zero, housing supply market.
Right. Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
It's crazy.
But it makes sense, and I don't know if it's a plat like you originally talked about since I've been on, where it was supposed to be for certain rental costs. If they know by building right now it's going to shoot that cost up, maybe it does make sense to just button up that plat and hold it for a while. But because we do expect lumber prices to go down again, right? Or I don't know, maybe you guys already discussed that.
No, we haven't discussed that. So
we were going to go. Rick, where's your crystal ball? Where's that crystal ball?
I'll tell you, my crystal ball is called the internet. And so let me first kind of go into why. And the one thing I wanted to say before I run out of time is the builders and developers are not the ones carrying the burden of all these material costs. It's the potential renter, the potential home buyer, who gets priced out. $5.5 million people were priced out of the home buying market in this last year because of what's happened to housing prices. That's 5.5 million at what, in a 3.25%, interest rate market. So imagine if prices continue to escalate, and for whatever reason, inflation, policy, whatever it is, we get a 50 basis point bump in the rate. It's going to really have an impact on affordable housing. So that's the message, and that's the pressure that's being put on government, House of Representatives, Commerce Department, because there are a couple things that are keeping lumber where it's at, which is today, $1,158, board foot. That's crazy, right? That's crazy prices. So there's the tariffs and the trade restrictions. We don't supply enough domestic lumber, and Weyerhaeuser is a huge, Weyerhaeuser used to own Party Homes and other Polygon and Weyerhaeuser,
Quadrant.
Quadrant. And so Weyerhaeuser can't supply, or we can't supply enough domestic lumber. So we have to pull it in from BC, we have to pull it in from Canada. And as part of some of the trade policy that's been in place, there's these big tariffs on it. The problem is that it isn't the Canadian government that's paying these tariffs, okay, which was the original intent. It's the home buyer who now has to pay for all these additional tariffs, and in restricting that amount of trade. There's the amount of demand. So when COVID-19 hit, builders thought it's time to hunker down. Okay, so did every manufacturer of any housing good, any supplier of any housing material thought, we've got to really tighten up because it's going to be tough for indefinite amount of time. Well, the lumber factories, the sawmills, they were no different. They were completely unprepared for the amount of demand that we would have for that. A lot of the production facilities were shut down. Maquiladoras in Juarez, Mexico, do a lot of that production part for new home materials. And they have big companies like Electrolux down there and others, and they shut down. So you have a staffing issue on the manufacturing side. You have the government tariffs. You have unexpected demand, lumber producers being caught off guard. And so all those things go into, why I think it's going to slowly start to stabilize, because the builders will start to ratchet down that demand through some of the sales tactics we just talked about, or just tabling a project for now until the market gets more normalized. But it's going to take a combination of things for it to come back to any kind of a normal semblance. But this is our market for now, and probably for a while.
So Yan asked a good question, I think. Like, do you really think it'll ever go back down? And we didn't really say yes or no to that. But I think what you're saying, Rick, is probably not. We're just going to get used to the level of the price. Is that?
I think that it will go down piece by piece. If we can get the tariffs and some of the trade policy changed, then that price, some pressure will come off of that. If we can get the sawmills producing at a more, fully staffed, at a more even flow production level, then that will bring down the price as well. If we get alternative materials, then that'll bring down the price. And the thing to remember is, lumber isn't just the framing packs. Lumber is your cabinets, it's your baseboards, it's your flooring, and other things too. Drywall up 7%, steel up 18%, copper up 27%. So these are all year-on-year numbers.
Dare I pile on and ask what the cost on the swing and hammers and the labor side has gone up?
Well, the cost has gone up, but I think more critical to builders is lack of available labor. Project labor right now, there's lots of salespeople that are waiting for job crews to show up and start framing their house. So it's really just the lack of supply of qualified labor to get on the job sites, and that's why cycle times have stretched. The supply chain, availability of materials, and the availability of labor has taken a house that used to take 6 months to build. Now it's a year. I mean, you guys are probably
Yeah.
getting some requests on 9-month, lock extensions or 12-month lock extensions. That's why.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, I know in my time with the Master Builders Association, they were really working with the different technical colleges around the Puget Sound to put carpentry back into the curriculum because it has disappeared over the last 2 decades. So that would help. It's a long play, but that's definitely going to help.
That's a long game, and that's something that the housing industry has been trying to deal with successfully for 30 years. Is that you get a new high school or a college grad, they don't come out of college, going, I want to learn how to frame a house, they come out, they want to invent an app or get into technology or finance or, something, hard science or something like that.
Right.
Did you guys talk about permits? What is going on there? Is that loosening up? Is the wait time getting longer? Because up in the Pacific Northwest, for remodeling is huge right now. That takes, that can take you months to get back. And
Right.
I don't know that you can go in there yet as, face to face, which used to be easier to get permits. But so what are you seeing now happen?
I don't think permits are the critical path as it relates to more construction. I think it's more about what we talked about as it relates to labor and price and materials. I know, as an example, to use my remodel, it took me almost 4 months to get a permit to remodel my house. So, but again, California I'm talking about my desert house. California is, it's a different animal as it relates to government regulations and restrictions. I actually believe that in Seattle now, I'm not up to speed on really any kind of real developer, fees, developer impact fees, things like that. And I was starting to do some research on it, but didn't get all the way through. But I can always follow up with some of the research that I find as it relates to. Plus, the local HBA is a great source. But I don't think permits right now are the issue. I think the issue is, if you can get the land, can you afford to build it and improve it? Then come to market at a market price.
Great question. So any final thoughts here? We're quickly approaching a half an hour already. Any final thoughts on the new construction front there from your point of view there, Rick?
Well, I mean, clearly I'm a fan of new construction. I'm a real believer. Yeah, and you know what? And this is what I think is great. Not to pound our chest, but new home builders and then mortgage companies like us with a new home builder culture. We really believe in the fact that everybody has a right, to own a home. And so we try to do the best that we can to make those barriers to entry, as low and as achievable as possible. So when things like this market that we're in, a cost plus market, a zero inventory market, and the Fed is doing all that they can, right, to keep rates down, and to keep that home ownership train flowing. It's frustrating, and it's more frustrating for our potential buyers. But I think we're all doing what we can. I think that builders will figure this out. They've always figured it out. So whether it's slowing down the sales release or shuttering some projects until they can come back to market at an affordable price. But the reason why I don't think the prices will adjust that much is because if you've already sold 3, 4, 5 phases, let's say at $750,000 because of where your price puts you on costs, are you really going to come back out in 6 or 8 months and sell that same house for $650,000 when you have all those homeowners that have paid more? So builders, and their partners like us have to be very, very strategic. And I think slowing down is what's really going to happen more so than a stoppage. The multifamily market's different because rents are so fluid anyway. And our rent is a much shorter term commitment than buying a house. So
yes, it is.
Yeah. So it's challenging, but but in a good way. We just have to get more home buyers, in homes.
Yep. Cheers to that. Well, Rick, thank you so much for joining us today. I always love our conversation. So definitely catch up with you here down the road and enjoy the remodel. It sounds like you're getting close.
All right, you guys. Have a great
appreciate
weekend.
you. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for inviting me.
Take care.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, Stacy, there you have it.
There you have it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the first 15 minutes, but I'm so happy Rick could join us, and he's such a great supporting partner of the Pacific Northwest. So glad to have him on and share him with everybody.
Glad to have you on via your cell phone today. So I hope you work out all your IT issues, and next Thursday we're able to get to it normal and IT issue free. So perfect. Well, enjoy your week. We'll catch you later, and we'll see you all back here next Thursday at 10 a.m.